Hello, everyone, and welcome here at SMAO for our second day. And we're going to kickstart our international panel where we're going to talk about innovation, startups, corporates, how all the different players in the ecosystem can work together to really make sure that we create coordination and we're all working together towards unlocking innovation. I'm Alessia and I will be your host, I think, for all the international panel here today. And I have more than 10 years experience in startups and scale-ups in Italy, but mainly abroad. I work in the UK and in Germany. And then I work with a lot of corporates, accelerators. I'm a mentor for the most international accelerators in Europe. So I think that I have the experience to drive you to the topics that we want to discuss today. So I'm happy to invite on stage for our first panel, where we're going to talk about the secret to innovation, working with startups. Some awesome speakers coming from actually all around the world, because we have Isobel, Pyle, Head of Programs UK and Europe at the Bakery. Please, a huge round of applause for Isobel. Thank you. Yeah, you can sit there. And then we're going to have Pablo López Loeches, Head of Ideation Entrepreneurship in the Direction of Innovation, Sustainability, Customer Experience, and Aena Ventures. Welcome. Then we have Greg Wolf, Chief Executive Officer at Cookerman & Co. Investment House. Please, welcome on stage. A big round of applause for everyone here. You can grab the mic. Then we have Nadia Maacha, General Manager, NAD Center Incubateur Accelerator from Tunisia. And then, last but not least, we have Mariano Spalletti, Managing Director at Conto Italia. Thank you. Great. So I think that we can start with a little bit of introduction. With each of you can say, like in just a couple of words, what you're doing and what your company does. Maybe you can start with you, Isobel, that you have the mic over there.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Isobel Pyle. I'm Head of Programs UK and Europe at The Bakery. We're a global corporate innovation agency, so we are on a mission to make the world a more entrepreneurial place. We predominantly work with ambitious corporates and organizations who are looking to work with startups and have really ambitious innovation strategies. We do that with a really hands-on approach. We like to think, that the world probably doesn't need another consultancy agency. So one of the reasons that we're called The Bakery is we like to say that we get our hands in the dough and we work really hard with both corporates and startups to make innovation happen.
Hello, my name is Pablo López. I'm in charge of the ideation and entrepreneurship unit in Aena. Aena is an airport operator company. We manage 80 airports around the world. Our core business is in Spain. In Spain, we manage 46 airports and two heliports. And then we have airports in other countries like Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Jamaica, London Luton in the UK. We have an innovation unit in the company, and inside this unit we have the Aena Ventures program to collaborate with startups and to bring them the opportunity to participate in an acceleration program with us. And in terms of passenger traffic, last year we had more than 245 million passengers through our Spanish airports, so we have a huge volume of traffic and clients to test our solutions from the startup acceleration. Thank you.
I'm Greg Wolf. I have been an investment banker for the last 24 years, focused on technology companies, the first 10 of which were in New York, at a couple of big investment banks you probably have heard of, Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs before that. For the last 14 years, I've been working with mid-market technology startups in Israel and Europe, on capital raising and mergers and acquisitions advisory. I'm now CEO of Cookerman & Company Investment House based in Tel Aviv. And we have two sides to the business. One is a side of the business that does mergers and acquisitions advice and capital raising, again, for Israeli and European technology companies in the mid-market. And the other side of our business is we have a fund called the Catalyst Fund, which is a growth capital investor in Israeli technology companies.
I'm Nadia Maacha from Algeria, incubator and accelerator, support startup and financial startup. I'm general manager real estate in Algeria for 10 years. And I'm expert international of evaluation immobilier.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Mariano Spalletti, I'm the Managing Director of Conto Italy. I've been working in the startup environment for approximately the last 8 years. I've been responsible of the Central South Italy for commercial responsible for Flixbus. I've then launched my own startup, and for 5 years now I've been, let's say, managing the Italian market for Conto, with a business finance management solution which handles from banking to expense reports to invoicing, accounting facilities to business clients, from SMEs, startups and companies up to 250 employees.
Great. Thanks for the introduction. So I would like to kickstart a little bit of a general question through all of you. Some of you have more sharing kind of corporate innovation experiences on working with startups. Some others are more into startups and scale-ups. So I wanted to ask you, and we're going to kick off this panel called The Secret to Innovation. Why do you think that corporates should work with startups? How to build a corporate innovation strategy, and how to create actually venture programs that are going to be working well between corporates and startups for you that are working with corporates and startups. And then we're going to continue this part of the panel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think to just start off with why corporates should work with startups, I think it's first of all important to say that corporates don't have to work with startups. And if you are going to work with startups, this needs to be a really conscious decision that is part of a much wider corporate innovation strategy. However, if you do go through this process and you identify that, you've got a really solid plan in place, you know what your ambitions are, you know where you want to innovate, and you know why you want to innovate, then obviously, I couldn't recommend more that you do involve startups in your corporate innovation strategy. And the benefits of doing so are well proven. I watched the opening speech yesterday from Alberto from Mind the Bridge, and I love the comment that he made about, if you're wanting to work with startups just because you think it's cool or you think it's trendy, well, you're 5 to 10 years late. And I couldn't agree more. Working with startups is not an easy process, and it can be done incredibly badly. So I will talk a little bit later around the strategy around that and how I think you can build a winning innovation strategy. But just to talk on the benefits quickly, I think, first and foremost, it's impossible for corporates to hire the best talent. So I think, working with really intelligent, ambitious, hungry entrepreneurs who have real skin in the game, specifically when it comes to, their product or technology, I can guarantee you're much more likely to work 10 times harder for you in achieving those results, especially if you find the right entrepreneurs with the right proposition. Another point is just, I think, generally, considering what the current market landscape is looking like, is that, fast beats slow in many instances. So, in terms of, corporates being able to survive, being able to validate and implement solutions and technologies quicker than your competitors is incredibly important. And being able to work with startups who are agile and quick to deliver is a really sort of, good way to do that.
Well, in our case, it's really related to what you have been talking. We are a public company. We depend from the Ministry of Transport in Spain. So usually when we want to bring solutions out of our company, technological solution, or working with other companies, we launch tender process. It's our way of working as a public company. So for us, it was really difficult to work with a startup using these traditional procedures. You know that public tender process are the procedures you have to follow and the documents you have to present are crazy, and they are designed for big companies, not for startups. So we detect that we had a gap there in how to work with small companies that can provide you a more agile solution, working at with different methodologies and deliver solutions in a quick way. Identifying that gap, we thought how can we solve that problem of hiring or working directly with a startup. That's why in the innovation unit we designed the ventures program, the Aena Ventures program, to solve that gap and to bring the startups the opportunity to work directly with us, skipping these tender processes. We have found different benefits both from the startup and for us working with Aena Ventures and with the startup. For the startups, we bring them the opportunity to work in real environments like airport, to test their solution in a real scenario, in a real environment, and also they can access the knowledge of the people working in the airport and of a legacy company like ours. And from our side, it's more a cultural change, I will say, that change of mindset. Our teams, our employees are used to work with big companies in the process, and for them it's a change of mindset in how to work with the startups in a more agile and in a different way. So it's a benefit both for us as a big company and for the startup like a small company.
I would say ultimately one of the most important success factors in corporates working with startups is a commitment at the corporate level to take action, and oftentimes that commitment only comes as a result of money. So if a company is going to make an acquisition in a startup to absorb them or to make an investment in a startup, otherwise it's often easy for big corporates to sort of lose focus on smaller partners with a big company. And I will say, but neither one of those, of the investment or the M&A situation, necessarily guarantees success. And we'll talk a bit later today about that. But I've seen situations where companies have bought other startups for $400 million and then shut the business down 6 months later because they couldn't do the integration, or similarly have made $1 million or $2 million investment in a startup and haven't succeeded. But really the most important thing, I think, is the commitment at the corporate level to understand that they need to change their way of thinking, and that they should perhaps adopt more of the way of thinking of some of these startups, and ultimately to merge those things, right? I mean, typically the large corporates, what they have is a customer base and a sales force and infrastructure. And what the startups have is an innovative product, and they need a way to get it to those customers. And it's really that sort of partnership that ultimately makes these things succeed.
Thank you. And Nadia, can you talk a little bit about your approach and what you do there?
When we delve into the theme of innovation, it is imperative to acknowledge the vital role that incubator and accelerator play in nurturing and supporting nascent business. These entities are not merely physical space. They are catalysts that fuel growing creativity and transformation. They provide the startup with a conducive environment extending far beyond mere premise by offering crucial mentorship, research, and network opportunity. I'm from Algeria. I speak English well. D'accord. Benefits of incubator and accelerator. The benefits are manifold. A startup hosts within their incubator benefits from creative synergy, sharing innovative ideas, and collaborating with other visionary means. The mentorship provided by industry experts gets this fleeting business through the complexities of the business world. Additionally, shared research reduce initial costs, thus lowering a significant barrier to entry into the business world. International collaboration innovation. If incubator and accelerator are the engine of local innovation, international collaboration is the fuel that power innovation on a global scale. Ideas no border, and it is this global connectivity that transformational power resides. The success stories emerging from cross-border collaboration are plentiful. The diversity of perspective, talents, and markets fosters robust and resilient innovation.
Thank you. So from the corporates and the accelerators, the corporate innovation partner and the accelerators, we learned the importance of working with startups because they are fast, they have the talents, they have the ideas, they have the processes, and they can bring all of that to corporates that are basically kind of driving, I would say, on the opposite side, kind of. And so this partnership can really help foster the innovation. I think that, more or less high level, I would say that this is the strategy. Mariano Spalletti, you're here representing Conto, which is basically one of the leading financial business management solution in Europe. And I think that you've seen a big scale-up strategy and entrepreneurship journey from in the past 5 years when you were there. Can you tell us how you approached that, how the company was able to basically scale it up, avoiding, what basically was saying before, the fact that generally startups are also very fast, but also can make a lot of mistakes, get into a little bit of a lot of challenges, let's call them. So how did you face them while entering Italy? And if yes, which were the steps that you took for getting over them?
Thank you for the question. It's a pretty interesting topic. We will probably need a couple of hours to go through all the details. As I said before, I used to be a founder before joining Conto, and now for 5 years I've launched and now I've been scaling the Italian market together with my team. I don't know how many of you have had the chance to work within a scale-up, and most importantly to follow all the steps of a scale-up, but it's not easy. So it's exciting, of course, but it's not that easy. It's full of challenges. You do a lot of mistakes. The most important thing is that you learn from your mistakes and you, stop doing them, as you go. I believe that in Conto we've grown very fast. So the company was launched in 2017 and there were 2 founders. I joined in 2019. I was the first hiring for the Italian market because I had to launch it. We were 100 across the entire company, and we had 20,000 clients back then. Now, in 2023, after 5 years that I joined, we are over 1,300 employees. We have more than 400,000 clients across 4 markets, which are France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, that we launched after launching Italy. And what I can say is that when I launched the Italian business, I think that we can split, the journey in 4 main phases. There was the launch phase, and then I also would like to speak about the pro and cons of launching a new country when you are successful in the native one, which is another interesting topic. But when you launch a country, you need to very well understand who your target clients are going to be. Because depending on that, you need to change your strategy, your go-to-market strategy. And as I like to call it, you need to understand what's the minimum viable team that you need to have, depending on who you're targeting. The second phase, after launching, successfully, is to, the early traction phase. When you get into the early traction phase, the focus switches a little bit because you started knowing your clients, at least who they are, and you started focusing on the product to find the product market fit, which then you will discover it's a long-lasting journey, maybe a never-ending story because it depends very much on the target and it changes also as you go. But in order to find the product market fit, which you come from the same environment, you know how difficult it is. You need to have a comprehensive view of what's going on, or all around you. From the sales channel, why clients are churning, what's the NPS, what are the reviews, the software reviews like on Trustpilot, App Stores, so it's pretty complex. But it takes to find the product market fit in order to pass to the next phase, which is scaling the business, which is something that you can do only when you have the good product. Then there is the scaling phase, in which you need to focus a little bit, let's say, more on channels. You need to better understand what channels are working well and double down on them. But also organizational-wise, you need to better understand which function you need, central, local support, and how you need to organize your team also to ensure internal efficiency. Because you need to scale also operations, and you cannot, let's say, let entropy take over the place. And then the last stage is profitability, which is the phase in which we find ourselves. And let's say we are facing a pretty challenging environment when it comes to startups before the COVID, but then war in Ukraine. Funds are draining up, there are less, and investors are looking more and more into profitability. So when in the scaling phase you look at unit economics, now, let's say in the profitability phase, you start looking at the positive EBITDA, let's say.
Cool. Thanks a lot for this, for bringing up all this topic, because for me, like, it's a very good, starting back to the corporate side of the panel, because I think that's what you were saying. It's very much a lot of the steps that a lot of startups are supposed to take, especially when they're working with corporates. So getting back to Isobel and getting back to talk about the corporate innovation strategy that you were talking before, how do you support corporates to work with startups, especially in all these challenges and also in the different phases that startups have? Because maybe, startups will not arrive to profitability, as Conto and other scale-ups are actually maybe facing. But of course, like, there are a lot of different steps around product market fit, around how to generate demand, how to integrate products with the corporate. So I think there are a lot of challenges anyway that corporates need to be aware. So how, and I'm going to ask the question to the three of you, how do you support corporates on that? And how do you support on creating an innovation strategy that is basically ahead on time to really be ready for those challenges that corporates maybe are not really aware of?
Great. Absolutely love this question. So thank you very much. I think the first thing to say, just to take a step back, so obviously at the bakery, we are a corporate innovation company. So the opportunities that we provide startups come directly, are only ever going to be as good or as strong as the systems and processes that we build with our corporate partners. So that's why we talk so much of the importance of having a really solid strategy. Now, the first thing that we always say to the corporates that we work with, especially when we're building our strategies, is that we need to first of all answer the first two questions. Why are we doing this? First of all, if the answer is something along the lines of, it would be cool to work with startups, the answer is probably not the right answer. The why and the where. So if you can identify why you're doing this and where this aligns with your overall business strategy and where you want the innovation to take place, so we can start to identify those stakeholders and those opportunities, we're off to a good start. There was an article or a report written by BCG last year, which spoke about the difference between corporates with good intentions and corporates who classified as winning innovators. Now, those who are winning innovators have proven to have much higher competitive advantage over their competitors. They're more prepared for growth, that's proven, and they're also, and very importantly, more prepared for any potential financial shocks. So the data is there that, all corporates should be aiming to be winning innovators. But out of all of the corporates that they surveyed and they looked at, they identified that the majority of corporates fell into a bucket of what they said were sort of conscious innovators. So that was around 75%. So these are the people who are aware that innovation is a top priority, especially for their long-term survival, but they don't necessarily have a plan in place or know what they're doing. You then have what we call the strategizing innovators. So you've gone at that point of identifying, the why and the where, but they don't know what to necessarily do next, and they don't have a solid strategy in place. You've then got the committed innovators who are starting to invest in their innovation strategy. They're putting the right amount of resources behind it, but again, this only makes up around 30% of all corporates. The winning innovators, and these are the people who have got a solid innovation strategy that they are currently executing against and have got a scalable model that they're repeating with results. I know that was something that was spoken about a lot. And it's this outcome-centric winning corporate innovation that we're really interested in building. So moving corporate innovation away from this, talking shop or, innovation theater, which is something that's spoken about a lot, doing innovation for the sake of it. And talking about how you engage, startups in that strategy depends on a number of factors. We have a lot of corporates come to us and go, love the idea of doing an accelerator, or, I'd love to do an incubator, because these are the buzzwords that, are being thrown around and talked about a lot. But at the end of the day, if we can't answer those questions, why they're doing it and what they intend, and aligning that with the overall business ambition, then it's up to us as corporate innovation partner to turn around and say that's not the right vehicle for what you want to achieve. And we'd always recommend to corporates that are at the early stage of that process of working with startups to do it in a really low risk, light touch way. So engaging in partner programs, for example, very low risk, very quick, will get you validated initial results very quickly, but not incur you any expenses in building an entire internal innovation team, putting 100K or so, into all the marketing and the work in and around requiring an accelerator, if that ultimately isn't going to achieve the business results that you need. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, from the point of view of a big corporate and answering the question why and which strategy are we following, we have, in 2021, we launched an innovation and digital transformation strategic plan for the company. In that plan, we include all the projects or action lines that we want to do in the next 5 years, and also the technologies we want to test and the innovation investment commitment of the company for that 5 years. We have 3 main programs in this innovation plan. One is more related to customer experience and passenger experience. The other one is more related to making more efficient our operation and as an infrastructure operator, and also all the sustainability topics involved on that. And the third one is focused on creating new business lines out of the usual lines of the airport. We have different strategies to execute that innovation plan, and one of them is Aena Ventures. Aena Ventures is the way in which we can validate in a quick way different technologies, different solutions, and then think in other plans to scale up these technologies or these projects. Aena Ventures is created, we identify different challenges with different units of the organization. These challenges have to be related with the main programs of the innovation strategic plan. And we involve different units of the company to create the challenges, and we open the call for startups. The challenges we create are really open. They have a big scope, so we can include different solutions and different technologies in these challenges. But as I said before, they are related to our strategy. Once we close the open call, we select the winner startups. We select 1 startup per challenge, and they enter in our acceleration program, which has a duration of 6 months, more or less. During this acceleration program, we give the startup 50,000 euros as an award, and also to develop a trial and to perform a trial or a proof of concept. And we provide them also the opportunity to work with a dedicated team of the airport to develop the solution. During these 6 months, they have to plan the trial, execute the trial, and have results. And at the end of the acceleration process, they have to present the results of the projects and also a business plan for a future deployment or a scale-up of the solution to the steering committee of the company. Then they decide if the results and the business plan are good or not, and if they give the green light to the solution and to the startup, they have the opportunity to work with us during 2 more years with a contract up to 2 million euros to develop the solution in a larger scale in our airports. So that's the way we collaborate with startups to fit our innovation and digital transformation strategic plan and to validate technologies in a fast way, let's say.
Thank you. Greg Wolf, I wanted to ask you, how do you encourage corporates to embrace build or buy approaches? Like how do you push forward towards building something together with the startups or either buy the product and just integrate it? How do you support that?
Sure. Well, I think ultimately, what I say about all these things and all the sort of successful deals in our industry is that all the big corporates, the big successful corporates all have a strategic roadmap, right? That they've planned out, okay, here's where we want to be in so many years, and here's the types of businesses that we want to get in. And I think that depending on where these companies are in that sort of life cycle of the strategic roadmap will depend on how they end up interacting with the companies. There's certain companies, certain corporates that simply aren't ready to do an acquisition of a startup because they really don't have the culture yet to be able to absorb that. There are, and I would say that there's three levels, right? The ultimate level is acquisition of a startup and integration. I think the second level is direct investment and partnership with a startup. I think the first level is maybe scouting for startups to work with, and in some cases the best way for corporates to do that is to sometimes invest in, let's say, a venture fund that themselves are investing in a sector similar to the corporates, so that, let's say, the corporates don't have a lot of expertise in investing. If they have a venture fund that's their partner that can say, okay, pick a sector, we're an expert in mobility and you want to invest in mobility companies, but you don't really know how to do it, you'll partner with an investor to do that. And I think that, all three of those levels are valid depending on where the corporates are in their willingness and acceptance to work with startups. I mean, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of companies that have that kind of not invented here syndrome, in that a lot of the business units say, oh, well, I'm not going to partner with a startup that does that. My team can build that. But oftentimes, it'll take your team 5 years and $10 million to build it, where you could just invest $1 million in the startup and have it today. And so there's definitely a level of corporate culture where you kind of have to realize the time frame and your own abilities to, your own resources. Are you going to spend your own resources on that, or are you going to sort of have it more quickly? And companies, even companies, by the way, that decide they want to make an acquisition don't always get it right? Again, because if they don't have the support, if the internal champion within a business of making an acquisition is one guy or two people, and that person leaves the company, then that startup, even if it was a $400 million company, and I've literally seen cases like this, will be sort of an orphan within the organization. And so it really does need to come to a certain extent from the top down of the big corporates, of saying, okay, we need to understand that maybe we don't have all the answers, and that by working with these companies that have better solutions and we can combine through one of those three levels that I mentioned, that's really kind of what's required to make it successful.
Yeah. Mariano, I think that you also have a similar approach at Conto, even if you're not a corporate. But I think that you guys are working very good in the Italian startup ecosystem, because you're really supporting early stage startups with events, with mentoring. I think that you're also pushing a lot towards women-led startups in Italy. That is kind of a very, very big issue in our ecosystem. But also at a more European level, you also acquired a startup. So I'm really interested, to learn more about the approach that you have towards a similar question, build versus buy, and how much you support that coordination on early stage. Hopefully, with maybe the idea of developing more products, or also integrating more into your current product. Like, what's your idea on that?
Thanks for the question. Can you hear me? Yes. Yes, let's say that we do have a very clear mission within Conto, which is to help entrepreneurs be successful. This is something that we usually do directly with the product because we enable entrepreneurs, manager, whoever works within a company is a stakeholder of the finance management to save time. To save time and energy in order this time and energy to be deployed in the core business of the company. After a while, we realized that we do have the competencies also to help indirectly, or let's say with other means, these entrepreneurs. This is why, for instance, since let's say for a couple of years now, we've put in place, especially in Italy. So this was a kind of first experiments that we did pretty successful. We put in place a couple of initiatives that have been pretty much appreciated on top of what we already do with incubators, accelerators, and let's say that are our partners. We've put in place two initiatives. The first one is called Stronger, and this is something that you mentioned before. We aim to help women entrepreneurs to be successful, also because we know that the gender gap is pretty wide, especially when it comes to tech. And the second thing is Power Up, which is more, let's say, closer to the other things that you said, early stage startups, no? Pre-seed or seed startups, in order to try to, because we believe one step back. We believe that sustainable and a virtuous ecosystem, a startup ecosystem, is based on three pillars. The first one is culture. The culture of, let's say, a country, how this country welcomes the startups, which I think is pretty linked to what the first speaker mentioned in the very beginning. So there is culture. The second thing is competencies, so skills, in order to execute what you want to do. And the third one are funds. So with this, with Power Ups, for instance, we wanted to put in place and help and support on the three pillars. With the first part, by spreading the words of successful Italian scale-up CEOs going around several Italian countries, culture and, if possible, knowledge transfer, so skills. And the third one was about funding because we had a closing night with the Conto Power Up with a short list of startups that in the meantime had applied to our program, let's say, which had the chance to speak and to pitch in front of 50 VCs, the main one in Italy. And then, let's say, as a prize, they also had the chance to get a mentorship with Alex Pro, which is, let's say, who is our CEO, who we believe can give a big support to this. I don't know if this is what you wanted to know, but...
Yeah, I think that it's very interesting because, we're talking about corporate facilitators and accelerators doing that. And I think that a scale-up that is not, it's big, but it's not yet corporate because of also the approaches that you shared before. I think that is super interesting sharing as an example of what role models, any kind of size can really do to support corporate innovation and startups and ecosystem growth. And Nadia, do you want to continue talking to us about what you do?
Yeah. A global funding and investment in startup. In the dynamic world of startup, securing funding is often in left blood that propels idea into reality today. We delve into the global perspective of this financial ecosystem, exploring the nuisance, trend, challenge, and opportunities that define the realm of funding and investment for startup on a global scale. Challenge and opportunities. Yet, with the promise of opportunities come the undeniable presence of challenge. Startups face handled in navigating the complex web of funding options, while investors encounter the task of identifying venture with the potential for sustainable growth. Exploring this challenge and opportunities is essential for fostering an environment where startup can thrive and investor can make informed decisions. Investing in startup inherently involve the degrees of risk, striking the right balance between risk and return is an art. Investors, startups, and events police market need to collaborate to create an ecosystem that encourages innovation while ensuring responsible investment practice. The international collaboration funding, no discussion on global funding would be complete without emphasizing the importance of international collaboration. The world is witnessing and increasing interconnection tested of economics, and the startups are no longer confined by geographical boundaries. How can we facilitate cross-border investment, ensuring that innovative ideas can access the capital they need, regardless of where they originate? The journey toward a future of innovation can know no borders. It is a collective endeavor, and together we can uncover the secret of fostering a global ecosystem where startups flourish, investment thrive, and groundbreaking idea redefine the way we experience the world.
Thank you. And maybe just very quick last question to all of you. I'm really curious, very quickly, to get your ideas into the sectors or industries or one project that you are very excited to go through as corporate innovation partners. And also, where do you see the future of fintech based on your experience at Conto? Do you want to start maybe so that we can go with the corporate part?
Happy to do so. So first, can you hear me again? Okay. So business-wise, I believe that there are some phenomena going on that we are not seeing. For instance, banks. If you think about the last 20 years, more than 50% of Italian banks, for instance, have disappeared, either failed or acquired by other banks. So there is a consolidation process, which is now, let's say, affecting also the fintech environment, startups in whole, but fintechs in particular, because it's very capital intensive, and we know that funds are drained up. In terms of trend, I think I'm stating the obvious, but I think so there are two things. There is one habilitator, PSD3, which is probably, which is likely, let's say, to enable business as a banking as a service platform to become mainstream once that the non-financial players are going to be attracted by what data they can get from banks and what business model they can build on it. And the second thing, stating the obvious indeed, is artificial intelligence, because this can, let's say, help being more effective. And when it comes to fintech, it means anti-money laundering, fraud detection, and so on and so forth, but also efficiency. Because in terms of cost to serve, this is one of the unit economics that you need to improve in order to, let's say, be profitable, as we mentioned before.
Do you want to go, Greg or Isobel? Like, any of you?
I can go next. So I just think in terms of specific opportunities, of course, bakery, we're completely sector agnostic. And I think generally our approach to innovation shouldn't be that, it's a specific sort of technology or opportunity that we're looking at, because we do believe innovation should happen everywhere, in every opportunity that there is. I think just talking upon my current experience, and if I talk about things that I think have really contributed to success of some of the clients that we've worked on, I think there's two things that I wanted to mention. The first thing is when we work with clients who are really for themselves experiencing the evolution of implementing strategy in the right way. So starting small, making those small bets, seeing the sort of the fruits of the validation of those small bets with, small amounts of investment with, really limited time frames, and then making really informed decisions based on real world evidence. We have something at the bakery, it's part of our partner program that we call the smallest first step. So we don't even call it a POC or a pilot. We sort of hate those words because they're always associated with, corporates of 6 months to a year, lots of planning. We literally say to startups, you've got maximum 12 weeks, you've got a maximum budget of £5,000. You need to prove to this corporate within the frame of their challenge and what they want to achieve the smallest thing you possibly can that would give them real world evidence that you are a good partner for them to continue collaborating with. So watching our clients who've really sort of invested in this process and have started small and just focus on building the right processes is something that fills me personally with a lot of satisfaction, because I know people are doing it the right way, and by doing it that you can make sure that you have a winning innovation strategy. The second point I just really want to make, and it's something that I heard a little bit of yesterday, is talking about sort of, mindset in entrepreneurship within corporates. And I think something that corporates have to just be really sort of honest to themselves about is that the vernacular, the language of innovation currently as it stands, especially within large organizations, is not accessible to everyone. It's for a lot of places, it's still sort of just this one really lofty unit in, headquarters somewhere. And it's not language that necessarily people on a factory floor or on the front line feel that they are empowered to engage in. So the other thing that I would just say that we do see and we do encourage with a lot of our clients is, if you're starting this process, to really engage the whole company and make sure that you're implementing those processes that aren't just a talking shop, that actually make sure that people have a tangible input in the direction and the strategy of the company's corporate innovation strategy.
Okay, in our case, to answer the question, I can share quickly which have been the challenges we have launched for Aena Ventures for the open call we have already now, in order to you to know the projects or the technologies we are looking for in the airport sector at least. One of them is called Destination Airport. Here we look for projects and technologies more focused on customer and passenger experience and create the airport as a destination itself. We include here topics related to, for instance, GPT models, as virtual assistant, robotics, these kind of technologies. Another challenge we launched was airport data driven. Here we are finding how to get data from the passengers, how to exploit that data and revert this in a better experience to them. I don't know, with Wi-Fi signals, data from the mobile phones, queries that we make to the passengers, all these kind of strategies. Another one is efficient use of resources. In that topic, we are looking more on how to create an intelligent infrastructure to have data in real time of the infrastructure and have a better maintenance, better operation, efficient our operation. For instance, with IoT, video analytics, these kind of technologies. The next challenge was virtual airports. Here we include all the topics related with metaverse, virtual reality, artificial augmented reality, and how to create the airport or a digital twin of the airport in a virtual environment. And the last one, which is I think is one of the trending topics in aviation now, is sustainability. How can we make more sustainable our operations and decarbonize the sectors? So they are more or less the action lines and the technologies and projects we are looking for in our sector.
So I would say, there's certain industries that simply are legacy giant industries that really need a lot of innovation to survive. And I'll just give one concrete example of one and how working with a startup, in fact, turned out to be very beneficial. So there's a company called Harman that you may have heard of, Harman Kardon Speakers. They got bought by Samsung a few years ago, but they are what's called a tier one supplier to the auto industry. They manufacture the infotainment units in the vehicles, and they lost a big contract. They were one of the biggest suppliers to Daimler or Mercedes-Benz for the infotainment units in the cars. And they bought a company, actually a former client of mine, called Ion Road for about $10-ish million. That basically, it was an augmented navigation system. So if you're looking on the GPS, it can actually show you a photograph of a camera view of the road and project the GPS onto the camera view of the road. Now, this is a company that, the contracts that they get with the automakers are worth, hundreds of millions of dollars. And having just lost Daimler as a client, they went back to Daimler and they said, hey, listen, we have this new augmented navigation capability. Maybe we could put this in the next generation of Mercedes. And Daimler said, oh, well, that sounds interesting. That resulted in them getting chosen to, again, supply the entire infotainment system for all the Mercedes-Benz cars. It was $1 billion of revenue for Harman, and it all resulted in a $10 million acquisition of a small startup that had a sort of slightly adjacent technology. And I think that's a great example where, a legacy industry just incorporating a bit of interesting new technology can turn a loss into $1 billion.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your approaches. I think that we are running out of time, so we are actually out of time. And thanks for bringing a lot of different point of view, approaches, and perspectives. I think was very insightful. I hope that the people following us from remote, they enjoy our conversation. And to all of you, I wish a very good continuous day and continuous journey at SMAO. Thank you.